This is the MeatEater podcast coming at you shirtless, severely bug-bitten, and in my case, underwearless.
We hunt the MeatEater podcast.
You can't predict anything.
Brought to you by First Light. When I'm hunting, I need gear that won't quit. First Light builds no compromise gear that keeps me in the field longer. No shortcuts, just gear that works. Check it out at firstlight.com. That's FIRSTLITE.com. Today we're joined by what did I say? Joined by George Bumann, who's a sculptor, a bronze artist. He's a naturalist, but here's the main deal for our purposes here. He's an animal language and animal intelligence expert. Teaches courses on the intelligence of animals. Will go to does things in Yellowstone National Park. Leads seminars there of helping people understand what they're hearing, what they're seeing about how animals do their business. He's got a new book out called Eavesdropping on Animals: What We Can Learn from Wildlife Conversations. We're going to dive in on all that, but just as a little tickler, hit me with, you don't even need to say a word. Okay, now listen, this is George Bumann. No Brody verify.
Yeah.
No diaphragm in his mouth.
Nope. No animals in the studio.
No animals in the studio. We have some bronze piece. We have a bronze piece. We have like the makings of a bronze piece in the studio. So that turkey right there, tap that turkey so people realize that's not. Okay, that turkey is not making this noise. Okay, hit us with. Okay.
Thank you.
Hit us with some turkey vocalizations. No, this is just flat out. Okay.
All right.
Okay, hit us with some coyotes way off. You got a good wolf owl?
Oh, yeah.
Let's hear wolf. Oh, dude. Can you do a good elk way off bugle? Yanni does a good bugle, but Yanni's bugle is miles away.
Yeah. Yeah, mine might be miles away.
Hit me with a good mile. A way off elk. That's a lot closer than Yanni's.
Mm-hmm.
Yanni's is like you can't even tell if you heard it or not.
Right. We're wondering.
You got any good magpie vocalizations?
I
Ravens, anything?
Ravens, for
Hit me with a raven.
Yeah. They're one of my favorites. They've got a lot of range, a lot of meaning there. Yeah.
I want to talk a bunch about those guys because, man, they make some crazy ass noises, and it can't be just them making noises for no reason.
Oh no. No.
Okay, here's a real challenging one. You just tell me if you can't do it. I wish I could. Can you this tests your whistling skills? Can you Can you do a black cap chickadee?
Not to my own satisfaction. Yeah, they're starting to do it now too. Not good.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But you know what? How good it works though.
Yeah.
Because people that can do it can bring them in like crazy.
Oh, that's cool.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right. All right. We're going to get it all. And not only that, but what, like, here's the main thing one of the main things I want to talk to you about when we get to it. I got to do a couple of announcements. Is not just the noises, but like, there's what they're talking about.
Yeah. It means stuff.
Oh, obviously.
It can show you things you would never, ever have found before.
They obviously mean stuff, but because they're not doing it for fun.
No.
I mean, it might be fun, but they're not, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
What it all means. One of the first thing, just so you know
question.
what's going to come, one of the first things I'm going to ask you about is, a pine squirrel's pissed off noise or whatever his noise is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't do it real good, but there's a ton of meaning in that.
Oh, yeah.
Ton. Yeah.
He's pissed at his buddy.
Mhm.
Pissed
Pissed
at
at
you.
you. Pissed at the bobcat. Yeah.
Okay, real quick. So there's a new YouTube. The Bear Grease YouTube channel is becoming its own thing. Little behind the scenes thinking here. Clay started a YouTube channel a million years ago, and it was like the Bear Journal or
Bear hunt.
because when Clay owned Bear Hunting Magazine, it had a YouTube channel. So it's always been kind of lurking around there. That YouTube channel is going to stay like that's Clay's baby, but Clay and Bear Newcomb are going to build out the Bear Grease YouTube channel. So all about them making them little bows out of sticks, hunting content, mule content, cooking stuff. Okay. And they're also launching their own Instagram page around Bear Grease. And I'll tell you, we haven't even gotten into this. I might be the first guy to ever mention this. Clay's book that's coming out in a long time from now is exceptionally good.
Great.
It's good. I mean, I've only
Sounds
read
very
the first
exciting.
5 chapters. It's a book. It's a book. It's like a history of the black bear. It is good. Including a large chapter on the circumpolar bear culture. I don't know if I'm allowed to. Yeah, why not? Clay he's turning his book in right now. The circumpolar bear culture is crazy because there's like a latitude band all around the continent. So it touches North America, Europe, Asia.
All around the northern
I see.
hemisphere.
It's a band of latitudes, northern latitudes.
Yep.
All around the globe. And if you think about the human diaspora, like how people spread around the world, these are people that split. There's people within this that split apart way long ago. Like meaning, if you imagine as humans, like humans are kind of in the Middle East, humans are in Africa, humans are up in Spain, wherever, and eventually some of them come around and wind up in Siberia, and some come around and wind up in Northern Europe. Now, by this point, they haven't been hanging out together for tens of thousands of years, right? But you look at their religious structures and sort of like spiritual understandings of bears, and you have this circumpolar bear culture where people that wouldn't have no interaction with each other develop, or no interaction with each other for thousands and thousands of years, develop the same sort of religious understandings of bears and how bears fit into their culture and the shamanistic aspects and like motivations that are assigned to bears, and you cannot explain it. How some dude in Siberia, some dude in North America, some dude in Europe have the same concept of like how you treat a bear. When you hunt for a bear, what are your obligations to the bear? That you definitely don't want a bear to see you once it's dead. So if you kill a bear, you approach it from behind. Like these dudes are on the same trip all over the... Do you know what I'm saying?
Wild.
No,
yeah.
it's so weird, man. I hope he's not pissed that I'm bringing that up.
Does he have no bear mother story in there? That one goes all over Northern Hemisphere. I
If it's
believe.
all over, it's in there.
Mhm.
He's got every damn thing in there.
Yeah, that's neat.
No, it's a super cool book. Available a long time from now. So the Bear Grease YouTube channel will be run by Bear and Clay Newcomb. Yeah. Oh, February 11th. 2 days before I turned 52. Very auspicious day. Corrections. Here's a great correction. We're going to start a thing where you win a prize for, we're trying to like, in an age of disinformation, shady information.
Yeah.
We're trying to, we're going to have a weekly prize called Correction of the Week.
For the biggest fib.
So, no, rewarding people who catch us being wrong.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, check this out. For instance, the other day I made a comment, and this was me talking about stuff I didn't know well. He even has the 37-minute mark at episode 826. What was that episode called? Skunk smells her first? No, that wasn't it.
How skunks can ruin a marriage.
Okay. I said, to my defense, this is still a correction. To my defense, I said, I don't think that a human operating word here being I said on the subject of skunks and skunk essence. I said, I don't think that a human can make. Then I didn't finish quite. Okay. I said, I don't think that a human could make. I don't think in a lab you could make as pugnacious or resilient of an odor in a laboratory. Guy wrote in. He's like, you're way wrong. Humans can and have. And he gets into some of these odors. While the skunk odor is due to thiols, mercaptans, sulfur-containing compounds, he says, there are other compounds both synthesized and isolated in laboratories that smell much worse.
I like this one. Cadaver.
They have a lab-based odor called cadaverine, which is a lab-produced odor of decaying flesh. They have pyridine, putrescine, and what he regards to be the worst smell of all time, thioacetone. An odor so potent it causes nausea, vomiting, and unconsciousness. There was a lab leak. There was a lab leak in Germany where they had a lab leak of thioacetone in Germany, and for a half-mile radius around the lab, people reported nausea, vomiting, and unconsciousness from a leak.
Powerful.
And what do they use that for usually?
I don't know why. I don't know how they justify their work. I don't know how that's a great question. This would be one of those things when you talk about ridiculous, maybe when you're like hacking on science, be like the dumb stuff they spend money on,
right?
Making bad smells.
Yeah, what's the point?
All right, so I stand corrected. That's a good correction right there, man. I said this is the kind of correction. What would be the prize when you get correction of the week? It's got to be something good, but it's got to be like we got to have a lot of it.
We're gonna maybe
we got to have 52 of them.
Maybe this will excite people more. So we will have a segment sponsored by Tecovas. Tecovas is
they're going to do the correction of the week.
They are,
and you get a pair of shit kickers.
Correction of the week, and we will choose the winning correction of the week. We'll do this for about a month at first to see, and the correction of the week winner gets a pair of Tecovas.
Oh, so we're going to start out. You get a pair of shit kickers, and then but we'll come up with something comparable every time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's phenomenal.
So send in your
correction of the
corrections.
Week. This would be a great one. I say, and again, I said you can't make something worse than that in the lab. Guy's like, yeah, you can. Here's another correction. He calls it a correction by omission, but I'd like to correct him. It's not a correction by omission. It's just a correction. So I don't think he'd win. Because, like, he's saying, hey, here's a correction by omission. And then when I tell you the correction, you realize it's not a correction. It's just a correction.
Yep.
He's just trying to soup it up. I said, we were talking about retrieval laws. We're talking about that in different states, you have these different governing laws about whether you can go and retrieve game. Okay, so picture that you're sitting there, and you shoot a duck. You know, a duck's flying overhead, and you shoot a duck, and all of a sudden he like sails off and plump lands over on the neighbor's place. All states have clarified, like, what are you allowed to do? Some states, you can just flat out go get it. There's a state where you can leave your gun behind and go fetch it. And there are states, like the one I'm sitting in right now, you have no right or authority to go fetch it. You'd have to go take it up with the landowner and be like, listen, man, I sailed a duck over on your place. Can I go grab it? And as terrible as it sounds, I mean, I'm totally like I'm like totally fine with that rule,
right?
But I would like to think that most landowners would when approached, facilitate the recovery. I understand. I'm not condemning the rule because I understand that there are situations where someone could set up in a way where they just basically know that that's going to be the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, it could be abused for
Yep.
sure, especially with big game, I feel like.
Yeah, where you're hunting in a spot where you're just, if you're sitting there going like, well, yeah, I know it's going to run on the neighbor's place, but I'm
Yep.
allowed to go get it, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like that could be potentially problematic. He points out, so I say in South Dakota, how it's legal to retrieve upland game such as pheasants without landowner permission. Okay. But you gotta be unarmed. We clarified that.
Yep.
Meaning you hit a pheasant, he sails off on the neighbor's place. In South Dakota, you lean your shotgun, whatever, set your shotgun down, you run over and fetch it. He pointed out, and he says that it was correction by omission. He points out, you can't do that with big game. Isn't that weird?
Strange.
Yeah.
But I think it might, because South Dakota has that rule where you can hunt in the ditch alongside roads.
Yep.
It's like a right of way.
Oh.
So I think a lot of those birds that get shot end up 10 yards onto, where you're not permitted to go.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're doing it
interesting.
because of the rule that you can ditch hunt.
Yeah. I that's what I think.
But you can't, so just you can chase a pheasant, but you can't chase a deer.
But if a buck sprung up out of that ditch.
And you are allowed to have your dog run over and fetch it. But check this out. Let's say your dog runs over to fetch it, flushes a pheasant. This is what this guy's saying. If he's wrong, send in a correction and he'll have to give you a prize for correcting him. If your dog runs over onto let's say you're hunting, you're ditch hunting,
Mhm.
and your dog runs onto some dude's place and flushes a bird off that dude's place, and that bird then flies over you on the right of way, you can't shoot the bird.
Right.
Because your dog can go retrieve, but he can't go hunt.
Yep.
And that's basically like having a dog with a shotgun. Here's another skunk story. That was a bad segue. This guy says this. This last week, I had been skinning a skunk that caught in a coyote trap. I wasn't really paying attention when I accidentally poked a hole in its scent gland. After realizing the terrible crime, we're done with corrections now, right? Yeah.
This is just a story.
This is just a story. Okay. After realizing the terrible crime I had just committed, I put the skunk outside to let things air out. So he was skinning it inside. An hour later, the cops showed up. Well, the local police showed up at my house to inform me that there was a terrible smell coming from my house, to the point that the local middle school had to go into lockdown because they thought kids were smoking massive amounts of weed. He used the word marijuana. They even had the fire department come to the school to test the air for toxins. Now my whole town has been talking about me and referring to me as Skunk Boy. I don't think the smell was that bad, but I'm not sure what to do because I make a homemade skunk-based lure that I use to catch all my predators. Here it goes into a question. This becomes like a
Advice.
advice. This is becoming an advice column. Do I stop making it and risk being less successful? He's leading the witness.
Yes.
He asks, do I stop making it and risk being less successful on the trap line? Or do I keep making it in secret and hope there isn't another incident? I think that there is a middle ground. Hunter Gregory. See, here's the evidence that naming your kid Hunter doesn't backfire.
Yep.
His name's Hunter. Didn't backfire. No one names their kid Fisherman.
Angler.
Angler.
Yeah, they probably do that.
I don't know. I've never heard it.
No one names their kid Sports Person. Outdoors person. His name's Hunter. It didn't backfire. Obviously, he's like neck deep in the disciplines. He's from I'm not gonna give his last name. I think you got to take this whole operation elsewhere. If it depends, you have the right. Well, what's that machine? We want to get the founder of this machine on.
Oh, the
Nasal Raider, nasal radar. We were calling it Raider, but the nasal. There's a machine that they use that quantifies bad smells. Do you know about this?
No.
It's called the nasal radar.
Yeah,
I was saying
pull that
nasal
up.
raider, but I was
Yeah.
misreading it. That's a correction.
I like
The
your
nasal
name better.
radar. It's like when you get nasal ranger. Okay, nasal ranger. When you get a smell complaint,
Yep.
like some dude's skinning skunks, it's so subjective,
Yeah.
right? It's like, well,
Might not bother you at all.
yeah, like the lady over there thinks it smells too bad.
Yep.
The guy over here, he doesn't think it smells that bad. So does it smell that bad? The nasal ranger is a machine that you put on your nose. It looks like an elk bugle with contraptions coming off it. Can you pull this up, Phil, just so people can see?
If Corinne sends
I'll
it to me, I
send
can.
it, yeah.
You don't have a little computer over there?
And what does it do?
I do, but I don't have a picture. I guess I could just Google it.
It
Here,
tells
I
you
got it.
how
I
bad
got
you
you,
think
Phil.
it should smell?
No. The nasal ranger. I watched this whole video about it.
This looks insane. Okay, yeah.
Okay, like let's say someone's like, dude, the hog farm next to my place is
Right.
killing me. It smells so bad. And it winds up being like, well, according to who? The nasal ranger, it looks like an elk bugle that hooks to your nose. There's a little nose cup, but it's got filters and shit coming off it. Okay. You go out there and there's a meter that shows like what it okay, right there. It looks like if a cop was
Yeah.
clocking you.
Nasal radar.
You would think that if you saw this, you would think a cop is smelling how fast your car is going. Okay.
There's a whole article in the New York Times from a few years
I'm, like,
ago about the
obsessed with
founder.
these
It's
things.
But
amazing.
what does it do? Like,
I'm getting to that, but I
Okay.
want to tell you, like,
Jeez.
I
It
want one
measures
so bad
odors.
because I want to be able to use it in arguments with my wife.
yeah. Be like, see, it's not so bad.
When she sends me one of her, like, twice a year, I can't live like this. Okay.
Oh yeah, we
Where's my
can
phone?
invest in one just like we did the Warner Bratzler Shear Force
They're less expensive.
scientific instrument. Oh, way
That's
less
good.
expensive.
Like,
Let's
we
see.
bought that, and I don't know, maybe we spent too much money on that thing for how much we needed it.
We're gonna keep trying to get our money's worth.
Okay, here's the other day, here's my wife. My wife has this to say to me.
She's going to have a lot more to say to you after you put this in a
Okay, I
podcast.
My
think-
wife says
I
this.
think
So
it's $2,000. By the way.
it's $2,000.
Yeah.
Little background on my wife. My wife has always worked. She worked all through having babies. She's taking time off of work. And then she's like, now that she doesn't have babies, she's not working. She doesn't know what people do with themselves. So it's great. She's like, I'm going to try to learn how to play tennis. Totally great. Started baking.
Mm-hmm.
I am at tennis and can't figure out why my ankles are so itchy. I have small itchy bumps on both ankles. If you brought fleas into our house because of the things you trapped, you need to figure that out now. Like before work. I am not going to live like this. So,
I love you, Katie.
right, I get these all the time. A lot of times they have to do with offensive odors. And if I had a nasal ranger, I would be able to be like, well, let's check.
You could avoid confrontation.
I would be like, let's
Avoid
see, is it
conflict.
offensive
Yeah.
or not? Let's take the subjectivity out of it.
We'd need to make content out of it.
Well, let's measure.
I'm going to talk to our CFO about getting
The subjectivity is the hard part, man.
That's what the
'cause, like,
nasal ranger
I
comes
think,
It's still
I
gonna
think
come
this
down
might
to
end up
her.
backfiring
Right.
on you.
So you can put any kind of ranger on that you want.
I'll be like, well, you know what? It's actually not offensive because I hit it with the nasal ranger and it's
Right.
within
acceptable limits.
It's within acceptable limits.
Oh
So
my
now the
goodness.
nasal ranger, you hook it to your nose. And so let's say someone's like, comes to you with they're complaining about how something smells. And they go, just smell.
Yep.
Well, I'd be like, well, people don't breathe that way.
Right.
That's not fair. You don't,
Yeah.
no one comes around going,
Not just last week. I was I'd already boiled this coyote skull
Okay.
for Hayden. But it needed a little touch up. There were some things that were still hanging on there.
mm-hmm.
And my wife left. I was like, I'm just gonna do it on the stove.
Sure. 100%.
I didn't smell a thing. But when she got back,
she smelled it.
yeah. And I was just like, it smells a little like boiling meat. That's all.
Exactly.
Did you ever
So
do cold
this
water
way-
maceration to clean
Yeah.
up skulls? Ooh.
Yeah.
We'd clean out the whole university building that way.
That is its own kind of, that is a crazy odor. The Nasal Ranger, you put it up to your nose, and there's a little meter that shows that you're inhaling normally. So you can't go in and not breathe.
Right.
And say, like, I don't smell nothing because you're not breathing. And you can't go in and over smell. It makes it that you're hitting like a baseline normal breathing. And it's got these contraptions on it that are sucking in the air, and it's throwing out a calibrated offensive measurement. So you can apply a number to when something reeks.
I love it.
So let's say someone in the summer, some guy hits a deer and it's out by your house or whatever, and it's crawling with maggots. And someone's like, my God, that smells. Imagine if you could just go, yeah, it's a 5.
Yep.
And apply a number to a thing that is just entirely subjective.
I have a feeling that with 50 years of a life lived, breaking down animals, smelling everything there is to smell, I have a feeling that the Nasal Ranger will skew towards the Gen Pop and probably I think everything you are completely deadened to will read as offensive to most people.
Yeah.
That's why I need a Nasal Ranger.
I'm saying that the Nasal Ranger
you can tweak the settings a little bit so
like
it's
manipulate it.
so it comes out in your favor.
Oh yeah, you like hack into the software or whatever to make it like not because what if it backfires and your wife's like, no, dude,
this is as high as it goes.
It's an 11.
Yep.
It's an 11.
You're like, that's not.
Anyway,
bad.
so this guy making this lure, and I understand, but I don't know why in the world you're making that next to the school. It's like, I feel like you have a right to do it, but take the operation elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, he did puncture the gland, which I'm sure made it 100 times worse.
Yeah,
He's
so he
gotta be
probably
more
knows
careful.
if he's making this lure, he knows that you go down to Murdoch's and you go into the veterinarian care aisle and you get one of them large gauge hypodermic needles. I mean, the kind of needle you can look through the son of a bitch. You know what I mean? You get one of those heavy gauge veterinarian needles that they use to inject cattle with. Put that into there and suck that smell out elsewhere.
Yep.
Not at home. Then you mix it in with your Vaseline or your petroleum jelly or whatever you're putting into it, so you got a skunk-based paste. Elsewhere. Out in the woods. Here's another tip you might want to know about. And I was turned on to this one, and it works very well. Get yourself a big sack of kitty litter. Get yourself one of those small action packers, whatever you want to use, I don't care.
This tub.
5-gallon bucket, whatever. Fill it with kitty litter. Once you make your lure, deep six it in that cat litter.
Deep six the lure in there.
Store it encased.
I got you.
Store it in a container deep down in kitty litter for your offensive odors.
That won't escape that.
No, and when I get a Nasal Ranger, I'll prove it. I'll prove it. We'll take a draw off some skunk, then we'll put it down in a bottle and kitty lure and take a draw off it, and that Nasal Ranger's not going to pick it up. Another guy wrote in about skunks. He's in the nuisance wildlife removal business. They deal with a lot of skunks in the spring and summer. You could picture this. Skunk gets into your house, living under your porch. Someone gets upset. They catch them in covered cage traps. And they kill them in a CO2 chamber for euthanasia. Do you guys remember, we were talking earlier, do you remember during the pandemic when they had to, like in Northern Europe, they had to kill all those hundreds of thousands of mink?
Yep.
Which they pelted those all out.
They did.
Yeah. I thought that it would make mink prices skyrocket because they killed all the
Scarcity
ranch
of the
mink or whatever,
resource,
but someone's like, that all went to market. Anyhow, what I didn't realize, they got these little gas-powered rigs they drive around in on those mink farms, and there's a box on the rig, and it's harvesting its own CO2. So, like, you're driving this little golf cart around, and it's harvesting its own emissions to euthanize.
Oh, I gotcha.
To
Yeah.
the whole thing sounds just like not a good line of work to be in.
Yeah.
Like a tough business to be in. That's how they do that. They're killing them like that. So this dude is saying when they get like a problem skunk, they euthanize it with CO2. Well, anyways, and then they throw them in a freezer, which I don't get. But they had a guy in there, and he says, I'll put it delicately and say he lacked attention to detail. He pulls a skunk out of the CO2 chamber too early and places it into a freezer. A half hour later, a different guy comes along and opens the freezer, and there's a skunk.
Bam.
Fine. No.
Oh,
Shuts the freezer real quick.
I gotcha.
Makes a plan on how he's going to deal with this, but then the skunk is waiting for him. The next time he opens the freezer, flop,
Yep.
nailed him. He says you can't get that smell out of that freezer.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Lastly, so you do want to say this. You're back to wanting to say this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
One more launch. We got a thing coming out called 12 and 26. So that means in 2026, we're going to release like 12 outdoor films. Each episode showcases a hunt from a different meat eater crew member. The first episode features Yanni's archery black bear hunt in Manitoba, which is out now.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned for more and check out these hunt episodes of the 12 and 26 series. All right. George, hit me with, I don't know, I want to get into the animal communication stuff here. I don't want to talk about bronze sculptures, but I want to dive into the animal communication stuff here. If you could think about, from your career and your study of animals, and let's keep to what lives around here. What animal do you think lives around here doesn't need to be around here? What American animal that people would be familiar with? Who in your mind has the greatest vocabulary? Land critters.
You know, probably the one that's been studied that way most, and it's probably because that's the one that's been studied that detail, is prairie dogs.
They have
incredible vocabulary that goes down to the level of there's a guy walking through the colony with a green shirt on, and he's tall.
No.
Yep.
What?
He's walking fast. He's walking slow. It's another guy. He's got a red shirt on or a yellow shirt. There's a badger. There's a hawk. Hawk's flying fast. On and on and on. Yeah, this guy called...
what?
Yeah. Yeah, they went down to the level of saying, you know, at a certain level, they needed to analyze it with computers because you just can't hear prairie dog at that level.
Okay.
So they slow it down. You can see all the bumps and blips in the spectrogram on the computer, and these differences are parsing out with their experimental design here. And they even went to the level of, let's put something in there they've never seen.
Okay.
So what they did is they basically put a cardboard cutout, or maybe used plywood, painted it black, put it on wire, and strung it through, moved it through, pulled it through the colony. They came up with a new word, something they'd never heard him say before. They put it away. Instead of an oval, like the first one, they put out a square. They say something different. They pull it back out. A little while later, they use the same word for the oval. Same
Seriously?
word. Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably,
and it's all like permutations of that. What we would just, when we hear it's just an alarm call.
It's just like, ee! Like, all right, I'm not getting much out of that. But when you start listening with like a lot of this stuff, you're like, oh, there is a little difference there. And if you could listen with the ears of a ground squirrel or a pocket gopher or any of these things, you might hear it too. But some of those they can, like the researchers, it was so funny. They were so accurate that they had different vocalization for dog versus coyote.
No, really?
Yeah. So they're sitting there and the researchers can hear this difference and they're hanging out, and this this prairie dog says, there's a coyote coming. And clearly the researchers can see it's a dog. And they're like, they messed up this time. It's like one example. And it gets closer and it's a coyote. They're like, what the heck?
Hold on, say that to me again now.
So they identified this thing right. It was a coyote. They gave the coyote alarm. But the researchers, not knowing their language real well, they knew the language enough to say, hey, they're alarming for coyote. Through their eyes, they're seeing what they think is a dog.
Oh, so the research is like, oh, it's a domestic dog.
It's a domestic
I
dog.
see.
It looks like a coyote. They just messed up. And it gets closer and like, son of a gun. It's a coyote. So that stuff is actually everywhere. But prairie dogs have been best studied that way. Their vocabulary, they even say that they have these sound bites that are like phonemes. They're basically like b, d, a, t, sound fragments that we recombine into making words and sentences, paragraphs. They have sounds that function the same way. So they can recombine these sounds to say dog, coyote, hawk, badger, guy, short guy, tall guy coming through the colony.
I was reading this thing long ago. It's like one of the dirtiest tricks I've ever heard in science. I don't know where they were doing it. I don't know where's the vervet monkey live? A vervet monkey?
Vervets are African.
It's an African.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were looking at the vocabulary of vervet monkeys, and they were getting this idea that they had, and it might be more nuanced than this, but they're like, there's a thing that says threat from above. Okay, and it'd be like certain avian predators.
Yeah.
And they had a noise that they realized it meant threat on the ground. And they thought specifically it was about leopards. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Leopards. So they would record these vervet monkeys making these vocalizations. And you could play it and get the response. Meaning, if there's a threat on the ground, everyone goes into a tree. If there's a threat from the air, the troop all seeks overhead protection.
Yeah.
Then they recorded a monkey. They recorded his threat call. And they would play it. And everyone would respond. But they eventually burned the guy out, where he became the boy who cries wolf.
Poor guy.
And they burned him out, where they're like, he always does that. And he's wrong. To the point where if he did vocalize, they would ignore it because they're like, that dude makes that noise all the time. Because they had been playing it to everybody. And they burned the dude out on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is like, what you're talking about is way more. I mean, like way more than, hey, on the ground, hey, in the air.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
at deer camp with the kids. Like when you and I walk through the prairie dog town, those things are like, eh. But when they see Jimmy, they're like, holy shit.
Yeah, they probably do, man.
And he's got a gun. He's got a gun again.
It's that one kid.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's.
So
I think
guys-
you're referring to that. Cheney and Seyfarth did a lot of that work in Amboseli National Park, where they were looking at those vervets, and yeah, they had a different call for something in the air. Those martial eagles, I think they were. They had a different one for leopards, and they had a different one for snakes.
Okay, I remember that now.
Yeah, and and that's a toughie with these animal vocalizations. like, how do you know? You don't speak that language, so they have these really clunky, sometimes really, mean ways of figuring out. All right, at least it's this level. This is what they're meaning.
Mm-hmm.
But in between, like, for me, I listen to a ton of ravens. I'm just fascinated by ravens, and the stuff they say just blows me away. They've got accents, they've got dialects, they've got stuff you can't even imagine.
At what point did you first start getting interested in the just like the vocalizations of animals?
Well, I grew up like you guys did. I hunted and fished and trapped for a lot of my youth because that was the culture I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up learning to call turkeys and ducks and deer and but like it wasn't enough for me.
Mm.
Just me being me. I was like, I want to know more. What are they doing outside of hunting season? What do they say when this happens? What are they doing when nobody else is watching? And you need to watch birds. Like I didn't know anybody that watched birds till I went to college. And they're like, oh yeah, we're going birding.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. My old man, he had an interesting bird taxonomy. Like as a hunter, you know, it was like there's this huge chunk of birds that were Tweety birds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Our friend has
What
a
it
system.
basically meant, like the ones like outside of there's intensely interested in game birds.
Right.
There's a handful of other birds that catch my interest, but then there are the Tweety birds.
Yeah. Yeah. Our friend has a system. It's arts and narts for hawks. Arts are a red tail.
Oh yeah.
Narts are not a red tail. I was like, Jason, it takes red tails to get a couple of years under their belt before they get a red tail. He's like, God damn it. It's like that throws the whole damn system off. You know?
I was reading I think it was in Barry Lopez's Arctic Dreams, where I think it was in that book, where he's talking about Inuit's map drawing.
Mm-hmm.
This is early, like he was relating of early contact with certain Inuit hunter groups, and they would draw maps, and they wouldn't do the maps would be to the scale of interest.
Mm.
So if they're mapping an island and there's a bay where they hunt ducks, when you draw the map, the island gets really small because they don't do it doesn't matter, and the bay is the map.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, here's the part on something, here's the part of interest. And then I'll just kind of rough in something to suggest the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I feel like with a lot of wildlife stuff, it's like elk, right? The bugle, you know, because it's useful in hunting. And you can probably hunt elk a whole life and never be like, what really is going on with that thing?
That's the kind of stuff that right.
You know, like it works or don't work.
Yeah.
But it's kind of you sort of have a like we'll map it from a hunter's perspective, we'll map its vocalization pattern, and it'll only go as far as what I need to know to satisfy my like base plan.
You're not really interested in what you might be saying to them.
You know,
right?
It works or don't work.
Yeah.
Right. And that's to human nature. Like we're simplifying machines.
Yeah.
That's what our brains are designed for, is after sensory stuff, like problem solving, figuring out what those patterns are. You know, what does that mean? And I only pay attention to the stuff that affects me. But when you start paying attention to what affects them, then the world opens up.
What was the first animal? Was it turkeys? Like, what was the first animal you kind of dove into and started realizing you were finding out things that maybe other people didn't know?
Well, I was obsessed with turkeys.
Okay.
Like my career was going to be making turkey calls, going around calling contests
Where'd
and
you
all
grow
that
up?
stuff, upstate New York.
Okay.
And they just recolonized that area. So I was taking every spare minute. You could only hunt till noon, but I was going out before school every day during the season. This is a funny one. The disciplinarian principal, the vice principal, when my folks were in that school, had retired by this point, and I called well enough that he's like, "Can you come with me? You know, skip school. Come with me out on Monday and Tuesday." My mom's like, "Hell no! Frank Dunham wants you to skip. The vice principal wants you to skip school so you can go turkey call for him." I'm like, "Yeah, Ma." It's like, that's legit, right? Hell no.
Were you mouth calling back, like no call, or were you using calls back?
I was building wing bone calls. I was building slate calls, box calls, using my voice. I was doing all of it, you know? And, but it was interesting because sort of like we're talking about in that hunting scene, you know, there's a core palette of sounds that you use.
Yeah.
And they do the job. But I hit a certain point, and it was actually when I went to my first calling contest, I'm like, wait a minute. This is what there's a guy behind that curtain over there, and he's like telling me if I sound like a turkey. There's no turkeys in this contest, and there's certainly no turkeys behind the curtain saying, yeah, that sounds like a turkey. You know, so
That's a great point, man.
I was like, what, you know, and there was even, I found an article when I was working on the book, this guy who was a judge, he said, you know, if you hear a lot of really bad calling, you know, it's a wild turkey. If you a lot of really good calling, it's a guy. You know, turkeys make a lot of mistakes, and I'm like, wait a minute,
dude,
mistakes? I think it costs them.
Right.
It costs them. You make a sound, the predator's got to beat on you, right? You make a sound, it costs energy to make the sound. Like, they're not doing it for no reason. Just because we don't know the reason doesn't mean it doesn't have one.
I get the point.
Yeah.
There's no, like the point would be this. There's a YouTube video I love, and it's a hen, like a wild ass hen in the woods, and she has the most raucous, bad box call yelp, which she stands there and does 27 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
27 times in a row. If you heard that, there's no way you'd be like, that's a hen. You'd be like, that is some 12-ass-year-old kid with his dad's box call, and he's just going to stand on that ridge and do that.
Yeah.
I would 100% say that that's what that was. I'd be like, some kid up there. It's a hen standing there 27 times in a row.
Yeah.
So if you could interview her, you'd be like, Homa, are you doing this on accident? Is this all a mistake? She would probably tell you, no. What I'm doing is
You should have seen the last time I did this.
Yeah.
And you know what happened?
Yeah, but like, I don't know, like, what is she doing? You know, what is she doing?
Yeah, how much variability is in there that's acceptable for purpose X? Like, you're doing a lost call. It does go on 20 plus notes. But like within there, how much stuff's coded in there beyond I'm lost or where the heck are you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're finding with some of these new studies on songbirds and stuff. Because they hear differently than us, they're hearing into these sounds stuff that, hey, either happens way too fast or is in frequency ranges that we don't register real well. So it's like, it almost seems in some cases like the size of the animal and their metabolism, their pace of life is coded to their communication. So like there was a study where they actually took sperm whale clicks.
I don't understand what that means.
Let me explain. So like sperm whales, huge animal.
Yeah.
Hey, communicating these clicks, travel real well underwater. And somebody had the bright idea, they're trying to figure out what the heck these things mean, when are they using this and this? And they've since found out a whole bunch, but somebody had the bright idea to go in and delete all the spaces in between the clicks. And lo and behold, it sounds like a songbird. Like you hear all the rising and falling of this. We're used to listening to humans. Birds, they're communicating so fast, but maybe those smaller animals, their pace of life, their metabolism, whatever it is that makes them, they're able to, in essence, from our perspective, slow down that sound of the winter wren or the magnolia warbler and hear into little tweaks of individual notes, let's say, and get more information out of that.
You're speaking Phil's language.
There's a thing I heard. What's Phil's deal?
No, it's when he was talking about taking out pauses in between. It's like what Phil will
audio
often
stuff.
do.
Type
It's
stuff
just
up,
audio stuff. Yeah.
I remember I was reading somewhere where some guy's saying that like when you go to like you see a fly and you're just gonna smack them. Do you know what I mean? That to the fly he might be like, in a minute I'm gonna move because there's this thing coming toward me. Do you know? Like his trip through life is just the perception is so different than what we think.
Yeah.
So we think we're going wham, and he's
Right.
like, no, it's going.
Totally. Yeah.
And so
it might be
man, like
that.
with it, when a bird
might
is
be
just going ape shit crazy. Yeah, like what?
Yeah.
Something else might be like,
Mhm.
he's saying all kinds of.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a great essay written in the 1930s, I think, 30s, early 40s about, the title is What It's Like to Be a Bat.
Mm-hmm.
And the clue, even if we could take the best AI and all these models and figure out their language and speak the same language, we still wouldn't have a clue what they're talking about. You know this when you go to a different country, or even if they're speaking English, there's culture. there's that culture behind and underneath all of that language that when you make a joke among friends, like everybody knows in that group what the hell you're talking about. But even if we could know that language for a bat, for a bird, it takes being able to hear like a bat.
Yeah.
Breathe like a bat. All these things that contribute to them being what they are that factors into how they interpret what they hear and say.
Yeah. Like we've forever have known that there are decibels that animals communicate in that we flat out don't hear.
Yeah.
So it's like sort of, you start with that, like 100, there's things we don't hear that we know we don't hear.
Yeah.
There's research about the way birds perceive, there's so much iridescence in birds.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably something in their eye. When they see iridescence, it just reads fundamentally different than what we see when we see iridescence.
Right.
They take it in.
Right.
And the idea that there are, like you're saying, that when you're at a turkey calling contest, when we're saying, man, that sounds a lot like a turkey, could be tons of gibberish to a turkey.
Yeah, a great example is like when I do a hen yelp, I found over years I wouldn't get the same responses if I used a box call or a slate. And the only thing I could come to is that it sounded good to me, but there was things in my call, maybe it's missing frequencies or something that made it sound plastic or fake or something, just that didn't get the same response. I literally just go to a box call, you got instant response. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Is it, certain frequencies, like high frequency drops off real fast. So over distance, whether it's an elk call or what have you, you're generally picking up the low frequency sounds that travel better. But when you're right up close to something, like, holy cow, you hear that elk bugle right next to the car. If you're in Yellowstone or something, you're like, whoa, I'm missing a ton of stuff.
There's a lot more going on in there than
what are they hearing? Like a lot of the canines, wolves, coyotes, they can hear, Dave Meach found that in open terrain, wolves can hear up to 10 miles in open terrain. And max, I think for me, unless wind conditions and other things are going on, the max is about 3 miles for me. So this is where often with students and stuff, I'm like, look, you can't ever hear that. You won't ever smell that. Not even with the Nose Ranger. Like, come on, just can't do this.
You can't do Nasal Ranger.
But if you start watching these animals closer, you're like, hey, wait. All of a sudden, they're starting to gather up. They're facing one direction, and then they howl. Instantly, okay, I'm looking at half of this story. The other half of the book is, I've had this happen, friends with radios. They're 6 miles away. Yeah, we got the Agate Wolf Pack. They're howling to the east, Yeah, I'm watching the Druids. Yeah, they're listening to the west. And they're going back and forth having a conversation for hour, 2 hours. We can't hear anything but the individuals standing in front of us. So there's so many animals doing stuff like this that we're like getting these fragments thinking that we know what's going on, and when they're having conversations over space and in terrain that we don't even know are happening.
We'll move away from turkeys in a minute, but
cool birds.
You've obviously been super close to hens.
Yeah.
Like all the, like, yeah. I don't know, I can't think of, like, at what distance you become aware of it, but they're always making noises.
Yeah, those little noises you wouldn't hear from 100 yards away, but at 10 yards you can hear it,
right.
Yeah.
What? Let's. I'm taking it in the wrong direction. Let's not talk about the ones people aren't familiar with. Let's just take, let me ask you something real simple. Do you feel that a gobble is just a gobble, or do you feel that there are different gobbles that mean different things?
Yeah, I think there are different gobbles, and I had thought for years that a gobble's just a gobble, and a young Tom makes not as good a gobble. Right?
Yeah, that's the idea, right? He sucks at it.
He just sucks. He hasn't learned how to do it.
Because he aspires to one day be like,
exactly, just blow your hair back.
But in fact, he's working on it.
It was in grad school. I was talking with a friend who's he's really sharp on bird behavior and all things, research wise and scientific question answering kind of wise. And he turned my mind on it. And I thought for years, a young Tom, full on gobbler. It's like a big full long, and then you hear a Jake. It's like it's just chunked up and didn't sound right. He's like, no, you got to understand they're gobbling in context to who's around them. And then I started noticing, son of a gun, he's right. If it was just that Jake, I had many times where that Jake would actually give a full-on gobble because he was by himself. He didn't know the big guy was over that ridge and hauling ass over to kick his butt. So he could say whatever he wanted to, and of course he wants to sound like the big guy on campus, right? And I'm like, son of a gun. Then I started seeing it in the field, and I'm like, a gobble isn't a gobble, maybe.
It's like a subservient gobble.
I don't know. I'd love to, correct me and add to it if listeners have listened for this kind of stuff more. I'd love to learn more about that because my turkey days are a little further back than some other stuff. But it's fascinating just to think of that.
If you could read into a gobble and be like, oh, that gobble, he's like, I'm coming now. That gobble, he's like, I heard y'all maybe come.
Yeah, you get the double gobble. You're like, oh, he's really liking that call. Triple gobble. You're like, he's got to be coming.
Do you think he's loving the call when he hears the double gobble?
That always to me seemed like a good barometer to how excited they were. Yeah, they gobble off the roost and they hit the ground and gobble and kind of gobble along. But once you get them fired up, man, they're double, triple gobbling repeatedly. And you're like, get ready, get ready, get ready. Here they come, So, if you look at it, the more I started looking at it from the turkey's perspective, the more I started understanding from my human perspective.
Yeah. You say you think about, do you spend more time on crows or on ravens?
We just have more ravens around home, so I spend more time listening to them.
Okay. The other day, it wasn't too long ago, I was watching one, and he just seems to be, like from my perspective, he seems to be just wasting energy. He's flying along, just raising hell. Like, just making racket.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
At a high, way up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, he's not with anybody. He's just like making racket. Like, what? Give me some insight into what they're capable of conveying.
Sure. Yeah. And
there's got to be something like I found something to eat. Like that's pretty clear, right?
Yeah. There's stuff that it'll blow your doors off. And I've only scratched the surface. I've found stuff that researchers haven't found. I've corroborated for myself things that they've found that holds here too. And to me, it's always about starting into these conversations, listening to what's most common. Mm-hmm. Pick the most common thing close to you and pick the most common thing it says.
Okay.
So it's like, I only have pigeons around. Great. Awesome. Use pigeons because the lessons you learn through the pigeons actually are going to apply to the red squirrel, the raven, the coyote, all those kind of other things. So you start sensitizing your own nervous system to it. And so when we were living in the park, I'd finished my graduate work. I was like done with academia. I did not want to read another scientific paper. And in that case, I just wanted the ravens to teach me. Mm-hmm. It took longer, but I learned a lot more. So the most common thing they were saying was,
yep. They like saying that.
Yeah, like on a loop.
It means
you're like,
to a human, it means I'm a raven.
Well, it took me the longest time to realize the ones that were doing that were the ones that were right next to our cabin.
Okay.
And it was two. It was the resident pair. I'm like, oh, this is their song. This is their territorial call that they use to keep the riffraff out. Their largest songbird in the world, even though it's not melodic, that's their no trespassing sign.
They're the largest songbird in the world?
Yeah. Yep. Common ravens. And so I was like, cool.
The least melodic.
You're right.
Largest songbird.
But they're coding a bunch.
But you could that's funny because I never thought about that classification. They'd be classified as a songbird.
They are.
Yeah,
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in the passerine order, which is all the perching birds.
Okay.
Corvidae family. which is jays, crows, jackdaws,
Yeah.
magpies, stuff. But that gave me a hook. I was like, okay, I think I know what that 3-note thing is now. And then the key, and I always stress this to folks, is start listening for where it varies.
Okay.
So there's one day I was out, and the ravens are out there doing that same thing.
Hit me with the him sitting on a post, being like, "This is where I hang out. This is my song."
Yeah, this is my turf.
Just
That
tell me, give me the noise. Okay.
Right. And in this kind of group, your listeners like making animal sounds is cool.
Yeah.
Like in pop culture, like you meet somebody at a dinner party and they're speaking to one person in Korean and one person in Italian and another person in French, and you're like, dude, who is this guy? We see that as sophistication. It's like he must have had all this, worldly experience, but you make an animal sound and they're like, so I always try to preface this. I'm like, no, that betrays our bias against animals as stupid and under us.
Yeah.
You need to start seeing them as those creatures that look into the ultraviolet, as those creatures that hear in ultrasonic and subsonic sounds, and those creatures that smell at parts per trillion. Like they best us in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So listen from that perspective when I make animal noises, because it's a crowd pleaser. But the value in there is starting to get people to listen beyond, okay, that common call.
Mm-hmm.
Just counting.
God,
there's
good,
more
man.
notes, and it's faster. And I discovered that just simple thing alone was happening when the tourists pulled out on the pullout in the road right below the corral fence and popped out the bag of Cheetos. Like they see food, they know it's in their territory. I'm gonna get it if anybody is, and you sure as hell better not come in here and think you're gonna steal it from me. So like that extra energy and repeated notes was almost like a more emphatic mine, 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 mine. Right?
Yeah.
We'd walk into an area, as a group to go sit down and listen and watch, and just us being there, those ravens would jump off their perches and start flying over, doing that. Like,
But they're not talking to you, they're talking to other ravens. Like whatever's going on here is in our turf, we're on it. If food
That's what it
comes out
seems
of
like.
this,
that's what it seems
I
like.
got a question for you. So that was a situation where there's people involved and they recognize that that's potential food source. Would you hear that? Did you ever hear that same noise like when they were like out in the backcountry when there was a carcass around or something?
That's an awesome question, Brody, because I've seen that. So it's corroborated
Same
the
kind of
mine.
yeah.
Like the one I think of most is there was a spot in Slough Creek, big flats. This bison had died, had been dead for a long time, pretty much eaten up. But the resident ravens, every time another raven came within like half a mile, they were up in the caw count.
Yeah.
And if not flying over toward them to perch and give them another cussing from within the turf. So it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what are they doing vocally around? Like we know all these sounds, like to go back turkeys for a minute. We know all these sounds that in our human understanding, we've kind of got it. Like these are sounds of courtship. Okay. The same way we might look at an elk bugle and be like, that's a sound of courtship. What, like, when you hear a raven, you're just hearing like raven noises you don't understand. What are they doing in the breeding season? Like, what kind of things does a raven want to communicate in the breeding season? What would be the equivalent of how we perceive to be a gobbler going through the woods gobbling, trying to draw hens in?
Yeah, I think it's different for ravens because they're just socially different.
Okay.
Turkeys are flock creatures. Toms are hanging out together, but the hens and the poults are hanging out together. They mix and mingle in places. Ravens are very much territorial with, kind of a slew of travelers and non-residents filtering in and around through there, except times when somebody kills a bison out our way or an elk, and those big food sources become big attractions. We know now from the research in the park that some of these birds are coming from Bozeman, flying to my house and Gardner and Yellowstone
over a carcass
to feed on carcasses during the bison hunt.
Because word spreads down the valley?
Somehow, yes.
That's wild.
You know what, man? Like,
Jeez.
we were hunting an area with my kids. We were hunting an area this year where like there's a big cow elk harvest in a certain area pretty annually. I was even commenting to my kids, like, I'm like, these things know what goes on here. And they're like in town for it. I didn't know they were in town from far away. I thought they were in town from like the other side of the valley or something.
That's what I used to think. No way in hell. These suckers are traveling 20 to 30 miles in the morning. So you think of a Yellowstone bird, you're like, oh, that's a big wilderness bird. They just hang out in the park. No, they come up, they're either feeding at the dump in Gardner or West Yellowstone or out Cody, flying back at midday. They're commuting, literally commuting in the morning off to the food source, flying back in the day to maintain their territory.
From potentially 30 miles away.
Yeah. And that's daily. You know, say
and
nothing
they
of these
somewhere
seasonal
have
things.
their own place they would regard as their hangout, their house.
Absolutely.
Their territory.
So to get back to that, the call that I learned next in sequence with ravens was this. And before I even saw them, I knew that they were moving, right? That's the sound they make when somebody's violated the no-fly zone in their turf.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to be back there on their territory to hold that space for them. So when the turf season rolls back around and everybody's got frozen pizza and bologna sandwiches, like they don't have to do any fighting and in border control. They're good to go because everybody knows that's their turf. But to close the loop on the mating season stuff, like I think a lot of these big food source locations end up being like the bar, the dating scene for ravens. And so you'll see them displaying, they aren't vocalizing as much that we can hear. If you're close and you hang out at the dump for the ravens, like I do sometimes, and not for the trash, you hear all these crazy soft sounds that probably, I don't know if we'll ever figure out what they mean. You know, like, you probably heard those, like a water drop and stuff, and they use them in context of getting to know each other. And you can tell at times when they display, they're not fanning like a turkey, but they'll puff their throat, they'll kind of hold their beak up. You've probably seen this, especially around a gut pile or something where the birds converge. Look real close, because in a general sense, when you see those birds that kind of drop their wings a little bit, they're puffing up, they drop their flank feathers, those are your resident birds. Those are the territorial ones who own that space, so to speak. The others are interlopers, and they'll be trying to run them off. In fact, when I did start reading back into the literature on ravens, it confirmed what I had seen in Yellowstone, where what Bernd Heinrich, one of the world's leading authorities on ravens, had found near his cabin in Maine was this dead moose.
Okay. One
dead moose, and one raven finds it. It lands and gives this call. And ravens come out of the woodwork and start feeding on it with it. And he's like, that makes no sense, right? You like make a beautiful barbecue dinner for you and your family, and before you eat, you have the high school football team come over and dine first.
Yep.
Like biologically, behaviorally, like that didn't make sense until he started studying them and marking them. And what he figured out was the ones doing that were younger ones and non-territorial birds. And that call, which is a great way if you ever injure an animal or you got a downed animal on terrain you can't track them on, you got to listen to the ravens. Because that call doesn't mean food in a generic sense, any food. It means meat.
Really?
So that bird is calling out to avoid being persecuted by the residents who own that turf. So if that bird who found the moose was caught by the residents, it'd be run out and it wouldn't get any food. But by going, it brings in an overwhelming number of other ravens, and everybody ends up getting some.
Yeah.
That it makes
I can think
sense.
of an analog that a friend of mine was accidentally trespassing and found a mammoth jaw. So he had to go over and say, "Sir, I was accidentally trespassing on your land." And lo and behold, I found a mammoth jaw. What are we gonna do about this?
And at that point, he called in all his buddies and stand around him to make sure he got the right answer.
Yeah, because he's like that raven. He's like, dude, like, I know I'm on your place. It's a big elk.
Let me help you out.
I just would like to know what happens with the thing and just try to be part of this, admitting that I'm on your place.
And what I'm going to do is call in a bunch of my buddies to help me pack it out.
There you go.
No way.
Yeah.
Hit me with the meat call again.
So let me qualify it. It sounds very similar to what young birds do when they're still on the nest and they're fledging. So if you've ever had a raven or a crow nest near your place, they never shut up. Like they just talk. And a lot of that is, which just grates on your nerves, and it's supposed to, because in essence what they're saying is, Mom, I'm hungry. Mom, hey, Mom, right? So if you see an adult bird, and the way you tell on a lot of birds, and certainly for corvids, is if you see them call, pick up your binocs and look in their mouth.
Okay.
If the lining of the mouth is black, it's an adult. It's 3 years or older. We can't age them beyond that. We just know that after about 2 years, the mouth lining is all black. If it's red, pink, it's a juvenile. So if you hear a juvenile going off like that in August or September, you're like, stupid kids. Trying to get the parents to still feed them. But if it's a black-mouthed adult doing that, you want to start looking. You want to start looking for the magpies going in and out. You want to start seeing if there's a coyote coming over the hill. Just the corroborating evidence that there's something there that you're missing that the eyes in the sky picked up.
And do the noise again.
And you only have to hear it once. Like I've had guide friends, they're like, hey, there's a new bison in Lamar Valley in Yellowstone. That's it. Don't tell me anymore. I'll go in the park and I'll hang out. I'll go to a real good viewpoint, prominent point, and I'll close my eyes. And I'll listen for the first time I hear that call. And often, because we often bias our other senses sometimes, I'll point in the direction I think it is, and then I'll open my eyes. And there it is, almost without fail.
Because he's making that racket. He's
making that racket because it found the food. And it's calling in buddies to make sure the residents don't run them out. That's one of the best ways to find that bear.
Also, I got mixed up about what he's saying. Or he's being like, if I go down by myself, I'm going to get harassed and run off.
Yeah.
So he's basically calling in like
reinforcements.
So that they can go in and feed, and they got enough people there where it's not going to be.
Yeah, it's like a smoke screen.
Yeah,
feathered smoke screen to give them the opportunity to sneak in there without getting beat up. And you'll hear it too. Like there's an awesome reference. You ever read any of Richard Nelson's ethnography work from Alaska?
Yeah.
In Prayers to Raven, there's a passage in there.
Book, man.
It's awesome. And there's like a 1-sentence description in there that I just like. I just want to know what he's talking about there. He said when the native hunters, the Gwich'in, find a fresh bear track in the snow, they hide and they make the calls of a raven to draw the bear in. And I'm like,
oh, really?
What is that call? Like, and then he just keeps going. I'm like, no, come back to that. There's two possibilities. One is that non-territorial bird saying, ha! Right? That's possible. The other one, which I think is probably more likely, is the squabbling calls you hear when ravens are on the ground at a carcass fighting.
Oh, and they're all duking it out.
It out total. And you hear that, like, we got a good deal going
that's
here.
Interesting, man. You'd go in and get a bunch of guys who could do that and start making that noise and see what shows up.
Yeah, I don't know how effective it was, but it's effective enough apparently in their culture that it's a known thing.
One of my favorite things in Make Prayers to the Raven, one of my favorite things that he learns from those guys he's hanging out with is, they'd like to den dig bears.
Yeah.
And their take is like, man, anybody can, because we'd look at that like most people look at that like a cowardly act, unsportsmanlike. Their take is like, man, anybody can shoot a bear walking around. Go climb in there and drag them out of there.
Right. In the old days, they were doing it with a lance.
Yeah.
They let the bear charge them.
Go
You know?
climb in there and drag them out and tell me about how easy it is.
Yeah. Wussy.
Dude, that's a good book. That's he spends a lot of time on. I mean, obviously, like that thing of like the significance of that bird, which is probably in some way motivated by it's just incredible intelligence.
Yeah, and I could totally see, like, people will often ask questions like, you know, the wolves around, you know, are they leading wolves to kills? And so far as we can see, no. Like, there might be one or two instances in the last 30 years where somebody can say, I'm pretty sure the ravens were maybe goaded those wolves over. A friend of mine was watching a brown bear.
To what, tap into the carcass or something? Like, I see.
Or, you know, here's a weak animal. Or, there's a carcass.
Like,
come over here.
Quick, kill this thing.
Right here. You know, it's more they're just like parasites to the wolves. They're just taking advantage of what the wolves kill. I've seen times where wolves will be feeding on the back end of an old wore out bull elk, and the ravens are literally in the antlers, like waiting their turn. Come on, man. Give us a little space here.
But you don't see that there's like a legitimate, like, hey, come quick. This thing's wounded.
No, but like the northern cultures all over the globe were like, yeah, that's how we find the caribou. And I think a lot of those signals are as much behavioral. Like, for instance, because we live on the edge of the national forest right north of the park, there's a lot of hunting that goes on. And I can go out for a walk with a dog and I'm like, somebody killed something over by the travertine 2 miles away. Just by the continual unidirectional flight of every single raven going that way. So I think a lot of those early cultures probably were not just picking up on sound, but they were picking up on directional flight altitude. If you see acrobatics in the air, you're close. There's a certain, I don't know, number of hundreds of yards, hundreds of meters that you'll see ravens chasing each other, trying to get food away from each other. And, you know, like, so, you see that, you're like, oh, we're within a couple hundred yards of that food source.
I was in Tanzania this summer, and the trackers use what oxpeckers do in the morning. It's diagnostic. I mean, they don't look at it like, oh, maybe there's something over there that it's going to.
Yeah.
They're like, he's up in the morning. When he flies out, he already knows.
Yeah.
He knows where they're at. The buffalo.
Yeah.
Like, he knows where they are because he was with them before or whatever, and he's going there.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, in that way.
And those messages come from all over.
They might not go there because of whatever factors, but they're like, at daybreak, when 6 of them go and disappear down somewhere, like, that's not for something else.
And bugs.
Like, there's a large animal there.
Bugs do that. You know, I don't know if you probably read Boyd Vardy's, Lion Tracker's Guide to Life or something like that. One of his mentors was found a lion kill from watching the flies.
No, really?
Same deal.
Yeah.
You know, I interviewed a guy from the book, and it didn't end up making it into the final cut, but he and his buddy hunted a lot in California. Really rocky ground. You know, the first time it happened, he shot a buck, it ran off somewhere. Could kind of see, ran out of blood, didn't know, just kind of gave up almost, sitting on this hill or next to this trail, and started seeing, he called them meat bees, yellow jackets that you're trying to avoid if you're processing game from getting stung. Yellow jackets keep going up this trail. So he followed them, and he's used that for years thereafter to find down game.
Got it.
In places he couldn't track.
Tom Petty, the late Tom Petty, he once said in one of his songs, he says, I can track a single bee to its hive. Which is like how they used to find staying there.
Swarms and
you stand there, wait till one goes by, see as far as it went, go there, stand there, wait for another one to go by. You can find your buck like that, man.
Yeah.
They're badass.
You can. And it's all, that's, to me, and I don't hunt anymore. And that's a whole different conversation, but just paying attention and trying to see the world through these other creatures' eyes, you start picking that stuff up a lot more. And this is what all of our ancestors knew, this animal language stuff in far better detail than I do. Like, a friend of mine's hung out with the San people in the Kalahari. They are unfreaking believable in interpreting non-human communication. And the ones who are the best, you would think, are the hunters. He's like, no, actually, it's the women. The women are out in the bush digging roots. They've got kids with them. They got old people with them. All these people that are very vulnerable if the hyenas or leopard or the lions come through. So they are ultra peaked. And he went out with them one day and they're digging away and these women's just spread out. You're like, dude, that's not safe, right? From our perspective, hundreds of yards between these different women with the children digging roots and things like that. And he'd walk up to any of them. Where's the closest lions? Without even stopping, they point. How far? About this far. Walk to another one. Hey, where are the closest lions? They point. Go around and visit multiple women doing this just effortlessly as part of their day. They are absorbing this information as they go. And in that particular case, they went over a couple hours later in a vehicle. There's the fresh lion tracks.
Got it.
And even on down to really specific stuff. Like he told me this story. They were in this it was a small plot of forest, and they hang out there in the day because it gets really, really hot. And they said to them, the white guys, the tourists, do not leave this patch of forest. There's mambas out here, there's cobras, there's hyenas, the whole laundry list. But one of the guys with him there was one of his students in animal language, bird language. And this student of his comes over, he says, hey, I know we're not supposed to leave, but I'm hearing this bird do something that I think might be talking about a snake. Can you come listen to it? So he goes over there with him at the edge of this little patch of trees, and he's like, yeah, I think you're right, but we're not going to go out there. Let's go get the one white guide. He's got a gun. We'll check it out. So he comes over. The three of them walk out, and he's like, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a snake, but let's go get Isikwa. This native guy, his name literally translates into cobra. He'll know.
Mm-hmm.
So Isikwa comes, the four of them then walk within, I don't know, we'll say 60, 80 yards. And he's like, yep, there it is. It's a black mamba. Don't go over there. So my friend says to his student, who originally found this whole deal, he's like, now watch this. They go back into the trees, and there's like 5 women sitting around making beads with ostrich egg shells. And they're just talking. Kids are playing around. People are working on tanning hides. Just the usual stuff of a community. So they stand there patient. And finally, there's a break in the conversation. And the translator says, do you want to ask the question? So my friend says, yeah, do you ladies hear any alarms right now? And in unison, all 5 of them point over their shoulder to what is hundreds of yards away. Says, there's a mamba over there. Don't go over there. So not only through their regular routine were they hearing it, they also knew exactly what it meant. Having not even seen it with all this other noise and stuff going on, like that's the level that not just Native Africans, not just Native Amazonians, like our ancestors knew that. Mm-hmm. And it's like so cool that we're discovering it now. It's like, no, it's neat, but this is really old. And it was used because it was so useful. It was retained because dinner was on the hoof. Mm-hmm. And you needed to know it was in there before you even went in there to just limit the chaos that life brings at you. So, and for me, it's like I was guiding a ton. So like people are paying you to find the bear. Well, if there's anybody on a carcass that's out there, it's probably going to be a bear. Yep. So you got to listen to the raven. You got to watch the duck. So I want to see a wolf. Somebody might be like, I don't care. You got to watch everything here because everything has a response and a relationship with everything else. And the more you pay attention to that, the more you're going to see all those connections start to just blossom. And what's even more cool is when you see the position you yourself hold.
Okay. You're
being talked about. They respond to you, Steve, different than you, Brody, different than you, Corinne. They respond, you see it in our dogs. Dog has a different bark for the UPS guy because he gives them snacks. Definitely different bark for the FedEx guy, no snacks there. Mm-hmm. Different bark for the neighbor, knows that guy pretty well. Different bark or behaviors when one of the family comes home. So we're not in isolation of this, as it's seen in the wild world. Like, we're doing it, our pets are doing it. It's just paying attention a little bit more so that you start seeing it in the places that you want to know more.
Our dog has a greeting for people whose house she has stayed at before.
What is it?
Just a level of like swirling around, making whiny noises. It's like
rolling over on her back.
That means
Whiny,
she's been dog sat by them.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is,
and if you haven't done that, she's not going to do it.
Right? It's true. It's so true. And like literally 3 mornings ago, my wife and I are working at the dining room table, and our dog, we got a black lab, Hobbs. Hobbs starts going bananas, like ape shit. I'm like, what? He only does that level of craziness for the UPS guy, or if the neighbor's dog comes in the yard because he wants to go play, right? And I'm like, what is it? And he's just like bouncing. They almost look like a coonhound, it's bayed, treat a raccoon, bouncing on his front feet, barking. And I look out the front door before I let him out, and here's a bobcat walking up the stairs from the lower yard into the upper yard, 20 feet from the door, and then just veers off and through the yard. You'd see those tracks, and you're like, oh yeah, that bobcat came through in the night. Like, no, dude, it was 10:30 in the morning. Yeah. We were working, and we would have missed it had Hobbs, or in other cases, we've seen lions in our yard because the magpies told us.
Yeah.
We had a lion with 4 kittens in our yard this spring, and they disappeared after a while. Didn't think we'd see them again. And we're sitting on the porch, my wife and I, and Jenny says, you hear that? I'm like, yeah. Magpies. Magpies, when they are social and just hanging out together, they'll go, yik, 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 yik. You hear it in different places. They're just checking in. But when it goes to, yik, 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 it's like, that's what we heard. And she says, there's something down there. I'm like, I know. And she no more than stands up, walks less than the distance from here to Brody, looks over the railing into the lower yard, and she says, the fucking lion. And because of the forewarning, had enough time to run in the house, grab her camera, and got this killer footage of the cat walking like 30 feet from the corner of our deck.
And those magpies were on it,
2:45 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
When you least expect it. It's like when your life is on the line, like a magpie who might get whacked by a wild cat, or a raven who might get whacked by an eagle. Like, look to those things that their lives depend on most. And then you just start seeing this whole scene open up as that's why they're talking that way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just an eavesdropper listening out. It's like, oh, whoa. Like, ravens have a specific call for golden eagles. Some things seem generic, but some things are extremely specific. And this one, and it can take a while. Like, this one took me about 5 years to figure out what the heck it meant. I'd heard it. I'm like, whoa, that's different. I can't figure it out. Flying high, just making noise, right? No, that's what happens when there's a golden eagle.
What is that noise like?
So it's a very consistent, uniform series of notes that just go on.
Uh-huh.
And it's serious. And I was having lunch with a guy who runs the bird programs in Yellowstone. I'm like, hey, Dave, you did your graduate work on golden eagles, right? He's like, yeah. He's like, do you know this raven call? I've been hearing this raven call. I'm pretty sure it's just for goldens. He's like, oh, yeah. That's exactly what we listen for to know to get the eagle traps ready because one's coming.
Oh, really?
So you hear that and you're like, oh, there's an eagle.
Why are they tuned into goldens?
They're killers.
So goldens will kill them off. They'll like swipe them off a carcass or whatever.
I've only seen it twice myself. It happens more, but it's really infrequent.
But he wants to eat it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They're eating them.
Got it.
It's like the difference between a wolf killing a coyote versus a lion. Lion will eat you. Wolf just kills you.
Yeah.
So their level of response is different. That lion is going to hunt you.
Yeah.
That wolf is going to opportunistically kill you because you're filching off its kill. And they know these variations. So I asked Dave, I'm like, so have you noticed a variation for bald eagles? Because I think I have. And he's like, no, he wasn't doing research on them, so he didn't. But on the spectrum of raven chasing another raven off versus raven chasing a golden eagle off, back from that golden eagle end of the spectrum is something that has a few more gaps in it, a few more bits of inflection. And it's hard because you see the value of indigenous knowledge of a landscape because I only get maybe half a dozen of these in a lifetime, some of these behaviors and calls. But if you've got 100 other people who are listening for exactly the same thing for a couple thousand years, and you're telling the stories, yeah, you see why the Bushmen are so damn good. But I've been able to call it on balds a few times. You hear and I don't know if you can hear the differences in there. It's not that and it's not the raven chasing another raven. There's a little more insistence to it. There's a little more uniformity, but compared to the golden eagle, there's still more inflection. There's more spacing in there. And they're doing those things for a reason.
Is all this stuff, like, are you doing all this just kind of based on memory and things you're hearing repetitively out while you're out? Or are you recording it all to, like, listen to this stuff and get nuance out of it? Or is it just...
For years, for 20 plus years, it's been me just listening in ways other people haven't been. And making some connections and missing most. Right? But what's really cool right now is my friend's kind of at the center of initiating a bioacoustics project in Yellowstone, which at the most specific level is wanting to disentangle wolf language. Can you census a wolf population in a place like Colorado? Can you keep wolves out of a place by playing certain types of howls in an area to keep them out of cattle? Right. So they're doing more or less the basic research, though, which is you're putting out all these recorders and recording 24/7, 365 days a year. But you're not just getting wolves. You're getting everything. You're getting all the ravens. You're getting all the bison conversation. You're getting everything. And we've got one of them in our yard, a part of this project. So what I have now is a spreadsheet on my phone where I see a raven chase a golden eagle over. I just make a time and date stamp and a note of behavior in my phone. And now I can actually go back, because you all had this. If you're trying to take a photo of something, you're trying to record something, it's over before you're done, especially these things. I only have a few data points ever. But this is
thing's always running.
It's always running. So I can now make a note, and I'm like, raven being, chased by this, or raven chasing that. I can go back to the sound recordings and listen to it over and over and pull out more
context.
Totally. Yeah, and that's where this AI stuff is really cool on one level with wildlife acoustics and other behaviors, but you still need the field time. You still need somebody who's dyed in the wool in the field, and that's all they do to interpret that data. Otherwise, it's just noise. So that's the part I really enjoy, and I'm really wanting to figure out. I have a strong suspicion of what the alarm coyotes use for when they encounter a cougar. It's different than when they find a wolf, because they're bad dudes, and they're going to tell everybody about it. They want them known, and they want to avoid them, themselves and their families. But I've only had 4 instances where I can verify that coyote, through snow tracking or somebody else's observations, that coyote was barking at a cougar. One data point. And hope this bioacoustic stuff is allow us to then go in, because he and I hooked up with a high school honors student. Kid wanted a project on wildlife. So we're like, great, we need to train the AI model. So we had him go listen to a bunch of stuff and accumulate enough howls to say, this is a howl, it's not an airplane. This is a howl, it's not a truck. This is a howl of a wolf, not a coyote. So that then you can let the machine listen to a year's worth of recordings without you having to sit there for a year for every single unit.
And it can isolate all the,
Right. And, there's been an explosion in the amount of info out there in the research world about this kind of stuff in the last 15 years. A friend wrote a book came out in 2012 called What the Robin Knows by John Young. They had to scratch and dig to find any documentation that talked about any of this stuff. Everybody's got the app now. Like, here's the song of the robin. here's the song of the Phoebe. All these,
Yeah.
what they don't tell you and they can't is what the hell that actually means.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot more research in that field recently, which is just, it's pointing to the complexity that we've been ignoring as modern humans for a long darn time. And as it's fun, you don't need expensive equipment to engage with this stuff. You don't even need binoculars. Just listen.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have good hearing anymore. I shot too many guns, or like me, power tools and guns, and I got compromised hearing. But it's not about what you can hear or can see. It's what you do with what you can hear and see.
Yeah.
Like I noticed a friend of mine who's had a lot of the same history. We pick up on cars on dirt road a lot further off than our wives do. We're like, get the dogs in out of the road. Like, what are you talking about? There's a car coming. Yeah, there's a car coming. I don't hear it. Well, just give it a sec, and there it comes. So each of us comes to the game with a slightly different set of superpowers, if you want to put it that way.
Yep.
And we're tuning into things in ways that you aren't, or you're tuning in stuff that I don't, which is in some ways like I don't like to give a lot of instruction on this stuff because I want to hear what you find. And if I tell you what to look for, that's all you're going to see. You follow me?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I'm going to tell you some cool stuff to get you started, plant that seed, but man, I really want you to do this on your own and teach me what you find. Oh yeah, the lions, the coyotes do that at the lion, but it's when the lion's behaving like this. So like when that bobcat came through the yard the other day, I did get a small recording of the magpies, and it was nothing like what I would point out and say, bobcat over there.
Mm-hmm.
And what you start to realize is they're oftentimes talking about, they're talking about the animal specifically, but as well in that mix is them talking about that animal's behavior, its intention, you might say. So when a cat is hunting, those alarms go through the roof. They light up the woods. But if the cat, like this one the other day, was just kind of like walking through the yard, drops off the retaining wall, sits down on a log in the little copse of cottonwoods. Yeah, there's a trouble, but we're not ratting it out like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So in many cases, you can actually read into the behavior. You can read into the direction an animal's moving. Like, so when the coyote is alarming at something, like us, naturally, they'll often shadow it as it progresses. So you'd be like, okay, there's a wolf over there, and it's going right to left at a trot, I think. And if we want to see it, we're going to have to go over on the hill here where we're downwind. You can start doing these predictive things that our ancestors were using intimately because they're hunting with rocks and sticks.
Yeah.
You need everything. And this is one of those tools that helps you on that razor's edge of survival. It's like the Crow Indian, Crow tribal folks here, they had a, Crow Fair. I don't know if you guys have been to Crow Fair, but they were just a few years ago a Twitter with the fact this one elder was coming out of the mountains to attend. And this photographer friend of mine got to meet him, and, he's very low key asking questions. And the elder asked this friend of mine, he's like, so, what do you do? I'm a photographer. He's like, oh, what do you like to photograph? Bears and wolves and otters and stuff like that. You want to know where every bear is, every wolf is? He's like, yeah. He's like getting his notebook out. He's like, thinking he's going to draw a map. And, he says, no. He says, you listen to the birds. He says, they're like our women. They gossip about everything.
Yeah.
That's some deep wisdom right there, because it's going on all the time, but we just don't give it the credit it's due.
What other animals that people listen would have a familiarity with the vocabulary already?
Yeah, great ones like gray squirrels.
Okay.
Like in North America, at least, gray squirrel is a great one. They're in Europe. They've been introduced to Europe and are a plague over there. But again, nature doesn't care whether you're non-native or native.
Sure.
Everybody's contributions to this community conversation is equal and listened to. So gray squirrels, If you spent time in the woods, you know something's coming through when you hear.
Yep.
Which is in contrast to.
Is it?
Ever hear that one?
Oh, yeah. Without the.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Look up. That is typically for a threat from the air.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He leaves off the couple, like, whatever.
The chucks or chups
Yeah,
or
he
whatever.
leaves off the
different,
chucks.
But the chucks are typically something on the ground. Same with red squirrels.
That's him on. That's something on the ground.
Typically on the ground. There's some debate in the scientific community over what that actually means, and no, it doesn't mean that. It means this, and we don't know. And the bottom line is the squirrels know.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to the squirrels. Spend time with the squirrels, because when they go,
I hate that one.
What is that?
right?
Because they got a version that just means I'm mad at another squirrel.
There is that. Yeah, you can't discount that. That's for sure. Like, dude, get out of my midden.
I wish I knew.
I got all the.
Like, I wish I could isolate the one, because I'm real interested in the one where he sees something. But then a lot of times you'd be watching him from afar and he'd be like, he's fired up because he's fired up at that squirrel.
Yeah.
He's not telling about some elk coming down the trail. He's like pissed at a squirrel.
Mm-hmm. And what's really crazy cool is not only are most of these things innate in these species, so like those vervet monkeys, they are wired from birth to yell at the leopard like they do.
You think so?
We know so. What they don't always have
they're not
is
learning language.
Well, yes and no. What they need is refinement of how to use that. So like young ones, they've seen in those vervets, like adults basically like cuff the kids, like, shut up. That is a root. It's a tree root. It's not a snake. Oh, all right. So there are these innate tendencies. There's these innate alarms, but then there's also training that comes with the social arrangement that helps them refine it so that the group can agree. Right. And that's also where you end up with these dialects. The ravens on Vancouver Island, like, dude, they say stuff I've never heard before from here.
Okay.
It's totally different accent in California. Oh, dude, he's on my surfboard. It's like Mainers, those ravens have different sounds. Mm-hmm. Same in Alaska. Like, you can see then it's like there are these pockets of agreed upon sound culture.
Yeah.
And they're talking about things in pretty complex ways. They're talking about us too, which I don't think a lot of people realize. They're talking about us in ways that these wild communities are actually across species, not just across species, across genera, family, order of organisms that are all listening to each other simultaneously. So the mink is listening to the frogs. The frogs are listening to the owl. The owl is listening to the jet going overhead. There's this whole hierarchy of order that they fall into.
That's a great point that like, as much as you're talking about trying to like figure out what the noises make. There's all these different noises that have to mean something. It's interesting to get into like, what are other animals? So here you are a human. Here you are one species. Hearing an elk bugle, drawing conclusions from that, but that an elk is listening to a pine squirrel, drawing conclusions from that.
None of them are in isolation. We are the ones in isolation.
We're the ones out of the conversation.
Loop. And it's not like you got to go into a wild place to hear this. No, like literally, I'm gassing up here in Bozeman before I got here, and the chickadee is pissed off at something. I didn't see what it was, but I at least knew something's going on over there. I've done it enough times to walk over and be like, oh, I bet nobody in this neighborhood's seen that owl. It's been sitting there, probably lived there its whole life, years, and nobody's known that it's sitting right there.
We had one hanging dead in that tree the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah.
What happened to it?
We emailed or I texted one of the game wardens, and he said there's so much avian influenza right now, and it's hitting owls hard enough where they're not even testing all the birds anymore.
That's sad. And that's
he was going to come by and grab it, but he's like there's a lot.
Pretty
of it
sure
right
of it.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed. And that's the trouble.
There's too many to check them all right now.
that's what I lament is as we see biodiversity tanking around the globe, is we're losing these informants. We're losing these community members who are more than happy to welcome us in and share information with us if we slow the hell down. Like something I do with students that I've done for years is I'll take them out somewhere in the park. And I said, everybody put your phones, your watches, everything in a bag. Pull out a notepad or a piece of paper and a pencil. That's all you're allowed to have. Spread out, so we'll have everybody spread out for, a few yards between everybody over let's say an acre. And we're going to sit for an hour, 60 minutes. That's it. 60 minutes. And then I just want you to look for any animals you see, any sounds you hear, just jot them down. And we come together at the end of that, and I keep time, and they have a crude way for them to keep rough time stamps of when we're out there so they can correlate certain things. And I'll say to them, what did you hear? Nothing, man. There was nothing. For like, I don't know, I heard a chickadee like maybe around minute 40 or when you made the signal for the fourth quarter or something. Like, there was nothing. And then there was stuff all over. I'm like, anybody else notice that? They're like, yeah, actually the nuthatch came down the tree. I saw a coyote. Like, all these things start happening. I said, do you think us going in there screwed things up? Did they know we were coming? And you see the wheels start turning. And the answer to that is absolutely yes. The same signal system that's ratting out the Cooper's hawk coming through the neighborhood or the owl perched up in the spruce is the same system that's telling everybody else about us.
That's super interesting from a hunting perspective because, like, you could be glassing some mule deer that are, say, 1,000 yards away, and you're like, they have no idea we're here, but maybe they do, and they're just not worried about it yet.
They know the proximities. They know the priors. They know that squirrel isn't going to do that until it sees something of trouble, but they're 300, 400 yards down.
Mm-hmm.
If we see the coyote hauling ass up through this meadow past us, we know that trouble's gotten about another 100 yards closer. That ghost buck that nobody could ever harvest. They, at a very fine level at that age, have to be tuning into these ultra fine details of alarm in their environment. And every species has a different threshold. So towhees, for instance, they're out of there so fast, they're like ninjas. You just notice like they're gone. Like, where the hell did they go?
Mm.
And then the sparrows, pay attention and they make a couple chip notes and then they take off, and a couple minutes later, here comes the dog has followed your trail into the woods.
Yeah, when you're sneaking along, thinking that the thing that's alerting stuff is you crunching leaves, and then you think about, and it's like the forest is alive with bird calls and whatever, and squirrels and stuff, but you think it's like you stepped on a twig. Yeah, it's a good point. They might have been talking about you for forever, man.
But turkeys step on twigs. Elk break branch,
right.
big stuff. So, like, why aren't they alarming at that? I was, like, so pissed as a kid, like, watching these birds on my grandmother's feeder. Like, a woodpecker could come in and flush everybody, or a jay, or, a squirrel sidles up. I walk out, everybody takes off. I'm like, I'm not bad. I'm not a bad guy. Like, come on, let's, hang out. Show me some stuff. And no, it's like you screw with the least common denominator as a hiker, a dog walker, a beachcomber, and you scare everybody. That's the piece we don't get, is if you scare the robin, you've already been blown for everything. You scare the brown creeper. You scare the mink. It's like, and then there's this is like gourmet level stuff where you start getting into secondary alarms. So like, as you slow down, I'll back up just a second. So that one exercise of making everybody sit for 60 seconds or 60 minutes, I'll say, how many times have each of you gone out in the woods or somewhere just wildish and sat for 60 minutes and done nothing but pay attention? You ask that yourself. Like, hunters, some.
But yeah, archery whitetail hunters.
Yeah, that's how I learned it.
That's when you see everything. Well, you got to go sit there at like an hour in, all of a sudden you're like, where's all this stuff normally?
Bingo.
It's like stuff everywhere.
It's normally exactly like you see after that hour. And that's what this lesson conveys them is like, I've never sat anywhere for an hour. And so the result is the reason we don't pick up on so much of this stuff is we have never, ever seen the environment we live, our home, the place we think we know the best, in anything other than a state of alarm and disruption.
Right.
Alarm and disruption that we have created ourselves. But the beauty is, as you start to pay attention to that, they recognize it in you. And it's very simple. Slow down, walk without an intention. Photographers, even the photographer not hurting anything, doing anything, the behavior most people take on when they're trying to get a photo, it's predator-like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see you. I'm focused on you. That is scary as hell to wild animals. What's it saying is, I'm going to get you.
Yep.
I'm getting you.
Yeah. I'm acknowledging that you're there.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
like if you coming up, you tell people, like, if you're trying to get up on a cottontail, be like, last thing you do, don't look at it.
Exactly.
Look at it out the corner of your eye and don't ever
Exactly.
aim your eyeballs at it, because when you aim your eyeballs at it, it knows you're aiming your eyeballs at it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's that language. So as you slow down, and as a friend calls it, I love this term, the honoring routine. You start to honor their space. You very quickly can tell what the squirrel's personal space extends to.
Mm-hmm.
You respect that. You give them a little bit of room. Crap. I'm just trying to get to the store. Like, I'm not walking around every pigeon. Well, that is the barrier that's going to stop you from moving through the woods like that ghost buck, like that lion. Do you follow me? They are paying attention to the signals in the environment and working around them and using environmental components to their advantage. So there's some places that are worthless to try to hunt until it's a south wind, right? You got to wait till the wind's right. You see certain birds and predators hunt when it's pouring down rain. Their survival is so narrow on that razor edge, and they've got this huge neighborhood watch trying to disarm them and keep them from killing their prey. And so they're doing all these different things to try to subvert the community of communication that's busting them, that's busting you, that's busting you. You step, like, literally, you got 2 minutes usually. This is a fun one to play with. Tell a buddy to meet me at this trail intersection at 11 o'clock, let's say. Except you get in there at 10. So that means you leave your car or, do whatever you have to do to be sitting down by 10 and let things go back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
which is 30 minutes, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a long time.
Least,
not
at
5.
least. It's usually more like 40 to 60 minutes. And then as you're sitting there and the birds are feeding and they're preening and they're singing, you hear the most common alarm in the woods. What is it? Silence. Silence is the most overlooked and most common alarm in nature that exists. So you just might think there's nobody singing over there anymore. And then you see a couple birds like hauling ass going from the parking lot area past you.
Yeah.
Set your watch. 2 minutes. So you got 2 minutes to figure out, do you want to scare the tar out of my buddy? Do you want to hide, or do you want to, go to somewhere else where I can watch them and screw them?
That's a good point about the quietness, man.
Yeah.
This is what the lion or the deer knows of you, is it's got 2 minutes through the robins, through the sparrows, to do a wide loop out, listen about your progress through all the other birds and animals. And then I know you guys, if you spent any amount of time in the woods, you come back the same trail you went in on. You're like, son of a bitch, there's bear tracks right on my tracks, or wolf tracks, or coyote tracks, or the deer. It's because they walk around you. They're listening and monitoring you through the animal language in the environment. So they're like, oh, yeah, okay, he's still going. He's going left over that ridge. And this stuff is of such high utility that it's one fellow I mentioned in the book. interviewed him. He was training special ops crews. And he had a guy he trained in bird language as well as tracking. And they had a Humvee ran over an IED, in the road, just made a mess of this thing. And they sent him, this student of the fellow I knew, in to find the bomb layer. And he does a few loops around the Humvee site. Just chaos, bleeding guys, screaming guys, smoke, fire. He picks up a single set of tracks, leaving. Same set came in one way, left another. So he starts sign cutting. Some of you may know that term. Where you're moving fast, but you're periodically rechecking that you're on the prints. Okay, you broke a branch over there. Just trying to catch up. And he gets to a certain point where this is Afghanistan. There's this wadi, this little ravine, and he hears the alarms. He's like, he's over in there. And as he's standing there trying to figure out what to do, he starts hearing the bird alarms go up this ridge beyond the wadi. And based on what he learned, he went the opposite direction so he'd get over onto another point, get a clear view of that ridge, and ends up taking the guy out. Never saw him up until that point, but he was clearly delineated in his movements and direction and speed even through the bird conversations. Wow. And that's the thing. He didn't know any of the birds. You don't need to know any of the birds. You learn the birds at home, and the patterns you find anywhere you go are the same. They're going to be filled by different species, but I've heard so many people say, hey, I never would have seen that mongoose when we were in Africa, but it's responding exactly the way the sparrows do at my place along the river when the mink comes through. Mm-hmm. The painted dogs, oh my gosh, they're we never would have seen them, but those birds, whatever they are the height off the ground. They're excited in the same way the birds are in my yard when the neighbor's dog gets loose and comes over.
Yep.
So that's the universality of that concept is fascinating to me, that we all are operating on this same level of awareness and use of sound to know what's going on, sometimes miles beyond our own sensory abilities. I know there's wolves in the park 2.5 miles away. If I'm walking my dog, I hear, oh yeah. At this point, it's not even it's just where. So I'll find that signal maker, the coyote or wherever, and I can just set up the scope, and from the deck of the house, you're like, oh, yep, there they are. It seems like magic to people, but it's not. It's just paying attention better, people. And when you pay attention better, you get treated different. That's the real beauty to me, is you start getting to know individual wild animals, and they, at the same time, they've always already known you.
Oh, yeah. It's why certain people can be out in their yard and have stuff come into it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. That kid is the one who, when he comes to the prairie dog town, he's freaking popping our buddies off. Yeah. That guy, he doesn't even care. Yeah. And they remember real well whether you've been nice or especially if you've been naughty. Mm-hmm. So there are times, even pigeons, let's go back to pigeons. They remember hundreds of people, faces. You can change your clothes and the pigeons remember you. Mm-hmm. There's a study done in Paris to that effect, one done in Philadelphia, where they guessed that the pigeons, rock dove, might know and remember thousands of people. Remember who's a regular, who's a tourist, and log all this stuff. We are being patterned all the time.
There's probably some dude listening who's thinking, like I am, that there's probably some, if you think about trying to call mallards or something, that that there's some code that you could crack. Do you know what I mean? That to a duck, when a duck comes over and it's clearly looking for other ducks, and it's the duck's I know that that's not right. I don't get the problem. Mm-hmm. Right. There's something that's not right.
Yeah.
You're doing something that's not right.
Everybody's just bobbing stiffly.
There's something, or there's something you could say You know, there's
Right.
something you could say that would just make it that absolutely that duck would have to come down, but you'll never,
Well,
you'll never learn it. You know what I mean? You'll never learn, like, when he goes like, no, not buying it.
yeah, y- that speaks to another point where I don't sometimes share too much, because what these animals offer you when you are let into their world is to see their strengths, their incredible talents,
But also
and
the
abilities,
vulnerabilities.
but you see their Achilles heels too.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I don't, it's thrown around so cliche, but sacred, that to me is, there's a sacredness in what they have shared to then betray that.
Mhm.
Like a great example, you probably know this from your bison work, is bison have this Achilles heel of following the matriarch.
Yeah.
And those bison hunters partly annihilated them because of their allegiance to the matriarch.
Yeah.
They don't move anywhere. I've watched them for years.
Exploit that. And
Shoot
people
her
did
through the
exploit
guts,
that. Yeah.
so she can't move, and everybody mills around, and you just mow the rest of them down. Anybody else tries to take off and chart a new course, you bust them through the guts. Everybody mills around, and you in one stand you can get a dozen or 100. I think there was one record of like 100 or something bison in one stand.
A guy named Vic Smith got over 100 one time.
Mm-hmm. So to me, when you're let in, it's changed the way there are things I couldn't reconcile hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that
You
was...
mean there are things about hunting you couldn't reconcile, or there are animals that you couldn't reconcile hunting for?
It was the former.
Okay.
Like, I didn't know what it was, but there was an honoring piece, a recognition, a sacredness that got clouded over in me trying to get that turkey, that tom, that specific tom, that buck or something like that I missed. I've found now. And for me, this is just me, it took me stepping away from hunting to really soak into their world on their terms.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow me, that
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they share things like there's a mule deer doe, model mama. Just we called her mama deer, and she always brought off fawns. She was amazing. And one year she had triplets.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, I think it was quadruplets, which for mule deer almost never happens. Like, she knew where to feed, build up those reserves, could handle that many kids. And lo and behold, we start into that winter, and it's a bitch. And one by one, we start seeing those fawns not show up in the yard. And pretty soon, it's down to just one. And then we don't even see mama deer. They're gone. I'm like, what the hell? And we had years with this deer. Like, we had enough understanding that I would walk with, at that time, our 2 black Labradors, each about 70 pounds. And I'd go to get the mailbox, like 10th of a mile up the driveway. And she'd be there grazing, off a distance. But in the meantime, she might come right along the driveway. And I would put my hands on the shoulders of the dogs. They weren't leashed. Our dogs run. But to her, this was my gesture of, it's okay. They're with me, and I'm not going to let them bother you.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times we could walk within 12 feet of her and the fawns. Like, I go sit in the yard sometimes, and she was so comfortable that she would walk between me sitting on the edge of the retaining wall and the edge of the decking, which was like at most 30 feet.
Okay.
Like, she'd walk through. Like, we had an understanding. She wasn't my pet. I didn't, but we gave each other this space and understanding of each other's boundaries. Well, that hard winter that she disappeared, we assumed she was just gone. And lo and behold, like mid-February, maybe early March, who shows up on our deck but mama deer? And she's just emaciated. She had this huge patch of hair missing on her back right side, like her lumbar vertebrae. I don't know if she'd been hit by a car. You could see her ribs. And what did she do? She came up and bedded down on the welcome mat to our front door. She came up on the deck, which is, like a 8-inch step up. And she bedded down there every night for, I think it was 3 or 4 days until she eventually went under the deck and died.
Because she knows nothing's going to get her there.
Exactly. She and I and our family had put in the time for her to see us as in her worst hour, her worst time. She knew she could find refuge with us. Like, to me, that was like one of the most crushingly heartbreaking, but also beautiful things at the same time, that we had made enough of a connection that she felt that she could live out her last hours in our company. And that I can't now look at another deer and not offer them that same capacity to reproduce what mama deer did.
Yeah.
Not that I, let's say, wouldn't hunt again, but the way I would hunt and view that is, and the author Joe Hutto put it really succinctly, nicely this way. It's not.
Isn't that the dude that did all that work with turkeys?
He did My Life as a Turkey.
Yeah.
And BBC did, and he did a great film and book called Touching the Wild on these mule deer down in Lander.
Yep.
And Joe said,
is he still around?
He is. He moved back to Florida.
Oh.
He and I keep touch now and then, and he's such a wealth of
I'd like to get
wisdom.
that dude on the show sometime.
Yeah,
I don't know if he does that kind of stuff.
Been some stuff going on, so I don't know how he's doing right now. But I would. He's another one that's put in the time to see all these other facets that most of us overlook when we say, "Oh, look, a deer."
Yeah.
You know, and in the way he sort of described what I feel is like, yeah, I'm going to go hunt again, but now I have to reckon with the fact that it's not what I'm killing as much anymore. It's who.
Yep.
Who am I choosing to take out of this population? Is this the matriarch mama? Is this a fawn that has a certain spark and talent that none of the others do? You know, like it'd be very hard for me to go into hunt the way I used to when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did kill something, if I did kill something, it wouldn't be with high fives anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, get that big buck or something like that. It would be, silence with that understanding that
that it was a who.
It was a who. Yeah. Yeah. And just every single day of our lives is enriched by paying attention to these conversations and having these individuals come in and out of our world, because they are our best teachers. When you have a shit day at work and your family is pissed about something, or, it's like, you can always look at that, that coyote over there, it's got a broken leg, and it's not making excuses. It's still keeping up with the pack, be it a little slower, listening to nature at that level is, you start seeing issues and trends that magazines and the popular media want to make into, the save the whales kind of approach, where it's like top down, big stuff. It's like, to me, this is the groundswell of where caring for your environment's real stewardship, real conservation takes place, is you, through these conversations and overhearing what matters to them, lets you into their world to know what you're doing that is harmful that you weren't even aware of. Like, oh shit, I guess I shouldn't mow the grass there now, because that's where the bunnies, that's where the litter's coming off, is that hole underneath that long grass. Okay, I won't mow there for a month more. Like, simple stuff sometimes. Don't cut down that dead tree. That's the woodpecker nest site. That is the sentinel location for the principal players in your neighborhood wildlife alarm system. You take that one seemingly useless dead tree out, and all these animals can't get a view now of what's coming before it's on them. It's like, so you have a true bottom up level of appreciation and interaction that makes you a better neighbor, I think. I feel that way. I still feel like a fool. I still feel ignorant and like I'm making so many mistakes. But I feel, and I know when you enter into those spaces with that sort of humility, nature's pretty resilient. It gives you more latitude than you would have otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Like people ask me, well, should I make animal noises when I'm out? You know, I see some deer when I'm out for a walk, or I see the fox. Do I make fox noises? I'm like, no, do not. I don't imitate animals in the wild anymore because the reason is I want to see them do what they naturally do. And then once you inject yourself, it's game over. It's like pulling the trigger almost. You change the entire equation. I've been with people, we've actually killed animals through making noises and interrupting the situation. I want to see them do what they naturally do so I have a better sense of what they have to teach me. And use your own voice. A lot of indigenous cultures will say, when we talk to the animals in our native tongue, they treat us like family. Mm-hmm. And so other people are like, well, I'm only American, I speak English, and, you know, like, you speak in the most expressive language you have and be sincere. And you'll start having experiences like, you know, the deer jump up on the morning walk with the dog and you say, hey, wait, it's us. And they stop. And they go back to grazing. They might even bed back down. Like that. But if you bring a friend with you to watch, it doesn't work because they're always responding to the lowest common denominator. You bring in somebody that's not paying attention and we give off infinite amount of micro signals. And they know whether you're paying attention or not. You know, there's stories of like the horses that can do math and tell time and read calendars and stuff. And they find out they can't do that stuff. What they're doing is cueing off of their handlers at such a fine, minute level that it gives the impression that another member of this, you know, another species has these capabilities when they're just, it's called the Kluger-Hans effect. They're paying attention to you so well, better than most humans pay attention. And it's like, how are we missing these cues? Well, your life doesn't depend on it. When it does, you start paying attention to stuff. You know, we all have that capacity, like, oh, the furnace shut off. You know, look to the things that are important to us. We still have those capabilities. We just have directed them other places.
Right.
Right. You know, like there's something screwed up with that trailer. Pull over. We got to check the chains.
Yeah, no,
there's a bearing going out, or, you know, like we are laser focused on those kind of details. But the power of our brain to do that can be used then to go back into the natural world, like our people did in deep time, and know stuff that is magic seeming, but in ways that's really damn fulfilling. You know, when you get, you know, it's like, I'd love to see a mountain lion at all. Like, well, we get photos of them. You know, it's like it changes the whole equation. You have opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Tell me about the artwork you do real quick.
You know, I always say my artwork is kind of my tourist trinkets or my souvenirs from living. So every piece is not just done to make a turkey or make a bear. It's done to tell an individual story that I've been let in on. Some of these animals I've known for an hour or two. Some of them I've known for years. Some of them I've known for generations. And so I feel that the artwork to me is a focal point to spend a ton of time figuring out what the heck that experience meant to me, if that makes sense. And it forces me to see details I would miss otherwise. Did you notice that that bull has a knot in his lower, you know, metatarsal? He broke that, you know, at some point. Or, there's people will say, there's that cow elk is, you know, walking across the lawn in Mammoth. She's limping. No, that's actually part of the normal gait. But that one over there, she's got a tooth infection. Look close. See that little swell here? No, not the bulge. That's the masseter muscle or the buccinator muscle in her cheek. But right below that's a little, you know, it's like it deepens further still my experience with the wild.
So that turkey is a turkey.
That's a specific one. Inspired by, I gave a couple of talks at a nature center in Utah, and they had 3 Toms: Tom, Tommy, and Thomas. And after I was done with my obligations, I just followed them around with some clay and sculpted. And you know, it's just, I was just so taken with that dexterity in their tail. It's like a geisha. You know, they wave that tail back.
Cock that
It's
thing off
just
to the
so
side. Yeah.
beautiful. You know, and when you enter into these spaces, you find that words don't really work. And I guess I grew up around sculpture, tried like hell not to do it. But it came back around in a way that I could do it my way. And for me, it picks up where the words sort of trail off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that curve of the Achilles on the bear, or that shin bone, that line. I've always loved bones and skulls. And it's like, it was a place to put it. My love of that stuff, like knowing every bone, every muscle from the inside out, then seeing the overlay of the behavior. And when they do this, how that bone articulates this way. So I don't use photos. I don't use video. I used to take a ton of that stuff. And I found I didn't use it. I got a roadkill kit. I got a tackle box full of calipers and dissecting knives and rubber gloves and my own data sheets I made up, one for birds and one for mammals. So I find a moose or a grizzly bear that's something that's illegal to have, I can take a full set of measurements and have that archive in my studio to go back to. But more accurately, what it does for me is, you know, on an elk, I find a dead elk, I might take 50 measurements, but in stretching the tape measure or the calipers, that number of measurements guarantees I have my hands on that animal at least 100 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to work on a sculpture, I'm working from more of a felt sense of the creature. I see just a momentary pose that a fox or a badger or an otter might do or something. I can freeze that in my mind, and I can fill in all the details of what was where to make that happen.
Yeah. Does most of your income come from the art or from your work as a naturalist and guide?
Yeah, it's the art by far. Yeah, we're starting to do.
So you're like occupationally an artist.
Yeah, but when you just kind of follow your interests, you kind of start screwing up the ability to be defined. Like I love since the time I was a kid, loved stone tools and ancient technology. You know, it took me 30 years to flew to Clovis Point, but like always as a kid, there was just from the time I was young a desire to have a felt sense of what it meant to make that.
I had one tee. I was able to do it because I had it teed up for me.
Did you? Cheater!
I had everything ready. All I had to do was give it the final little flap, and it was all teed up for me. So I did a flute, but I took a dirty way to get there.
That's dirty, dude. Because whoever made the preform for you will tell you the flute's nothing. If the I just had to give it the final little thump and blew a flute off. Right.
And I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do a second.
Success.
You didn't break it.
Yeah. But it's you know, that sort of stuff as well. I just has always turned my crank, and I find a flake of obsidian on the ground near the house or something. Like I know almost exactly what size and dimension that thing would have been off of. I know what direction the blow came from. I know what it was trying to do to take off that lump on whatever the preform. Like, just that's always really been gratifying to me to have that bottom up, inside out kind of look at things. And the art and the educational programs, they're just kind of, you know, the veneer at the top.
Yeah. And then, how long when is the book out and available? Right now?
It is. It's available now wherever books are sold. You can find them all over Amazon and beyond. Your local bookstores can order it through Greystone Books.
Okay, the title is Eavesdropping on Animals, What We Can Learn from Wildlife Conversations by George Bumann. Got a foreword by John Young. Anywhere books are sold.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Can I give one plug?
What do you mean?
For something other than the book.
Oh, yeah.
Something we're doing right now. It just went live. We got an online event. That's where some of our education stuff's been going. Oh,
Corinne put that in the note. Sorry.
No.
Oh, no.
That's fine.
Go ahead.
We have an event for people who love nature in Yellowstone Park called the Yellowstone Summit. And it brings together, we have this year over 30 world expert speakers, as we have for the last 5 years, on Yellowstone, talking about everything from filming mountain lions, the history of beavers in the park, to population census of moose, geology, Native American history. If you are thinking of coming to the park and want some insight on what to do and think about, join us. If you longtime Yellowstoner, want more deep stuff, join us. If you're from the region, there's nothing that thrills me more than running into somebody from Billings or Butte or, Idaho Falls or something. There's like, oh my gosh.
Is that like an ongoing thing, or is it like a one time, or?
Yeah, it's online. So anybody with internet can get involved, watch it anywhere in the world. It's registration just opened. So by the time this airs, registration will still be open. It goes live on February 19th through the 22nd of this year. And it's cheap. We try to make it affordable. For $15, you can get access for 48 hours to all those programs. Or if you want all access, which means you can, it's great because it's online.
But there's a live component too. You can go, or you can watch. You can get a ticket and watch online.
So Deputy Superintendent Mike Turnell of Yellowstone will be giving a park update, and you can show up and ask him questions yourself. So since the flood, what actually is going on with the road and things like that. We've got folks who use it for homeschool curriculum. We've got folks who use it to train their park guides. So this is a training tool for them. We got Park Service people who watch it for their own training. So it's very high level, but also has entry level basic stuff for anybody interested, whether they actually ever make it here or not. And just check it out at YellowstoneSummit.com.
Got it. So YellowstoneSummit.com and Eavesdropping on Animals, what we can learn from wildlife conversations with George Bumann. Thanks for coming on, man.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.